Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our first ever FlowZone Power Hour. And I have some notes over here on my other screen. So if you see me looking away, it's just making sure that I keep us on track. Anyways, hello and welcome to our first ever FlowZone Power Hour. What? Yay. Thanks for joining me. This is a very experimental event that just kind of randomly came up, sort of. It is definitely rooted in connection and intention, but it is sort of random how it came up. But our agenda for today, because I'm sure you don't want to sit here looking at a talking head blabbing to you for a while before we get into things. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into our Zen doodling. And while we're working on our art, I'll tell you more about what we're doing and why. And then we have more time for creativity and fun and less time, like I said, looking at me talking to you. And, that's our plan. But I think that we can create and chit chat simultaneously, right? We contain multitudes. And feel free to post in the chat or in the comments if you have anything you want to share or questions to ask, that sort of thing. And I will try to get back to you. Okay? Try to chime in. While this is called a power hour, we are not going for a whole hour today because I have a hard stop. And that's just the way it goes today. So Zen tangling. So that's today's activity. We are going to be doing Zen tangling, or more technically, we're going to be doing Zen doodling, because I forgot when I set this up. The Zen tangling is actually a branded specific technique of Zen doodling, and I'll come back to that. And so I do want to give the disclaimer too that I am not an artist or a real Zen tangler. I don't teach art. This is just something I dabble in every once in a while, and I think it's a really fun and unique art style, and I really love that it is, it can be enjoyed by anybody. It's accessible. You don't have to have fancy or expensive materials or a lot of materials. You can do it anywhere, anytime, and it can be really something that you can use to reflect the mood that you're in. So yeah, it's just all around really a great thing. So the supplies you will need some kind of paper, maybe a sketching notebook like this. Honestly, we're just practicing today. We're not creating any big masterpieces of art. So you could just use paper, like scratch paper if you want, but it should be at least 4 inches by 4 inches to give you enough space to work. And you can do more than one during our time today if you have that capacity. That's totally fine. You will also need some kind of black pen. This is a fine point Sharpie. You can use a ballpoint pen. You can use a gel pen. You can use a marker. You can use a black pencil. But I think a felt tip pen or a pen specifically designed for drawing works a little bit better. Those are only required materials, is the paper and a black pen. But you can also have with you a pencil for shading, and this is just any kind of pencil is fine. And you could also have colored markers, colored pens. And the last thing that a lot of Zen doodlers really like are having these tortillons, which is a blend. It's kind of a little paper blending stick, but you can also use just a Q-tip. They aren't required for today, but if you want to, explore with those later on, go for it. What else? That was all I had for supplies. And so what is Zen tangling or Zen doodling? So like I mentioned before, Zen tangling is a branded specific method of doing Zen doodling, and they have like a certification for teachers, and they have supplies that that they sell under their branded name. They're specifically for Zen doodling or Zen tangling. And they have a specific method which uses a specific size of paper and some other rules, and they have their own language to go with it, like auras and things like that. We're not going to get into that today. But the difference between Zen tangling or Zen doodling and regular doodling is pretty big. It's pretty substantial and it's meaningful. So Zen doodling it's intentional. It's very orderly. You're using your lines and shapes to create visual interest. You're building this by using layers and shading and maybe coloring, adding in visual texture through the patterns. It tends to be a very meditative exercise, and your brain, you're actively engaged, meaning it is the thing you're doing. It's not something you're doing while other stuff is going on. It is your focus. And there's not really a pre-plan, but you kind of develop this plan as you're flowing through the activity. And we'll get into that when we start doing this. Doodling, on the other hand, is generally really random. You're not taking care in terms of the materials you're using or your composition. It doesn't really have a purpose. Usually doodling is something you do when you're in the middle of doing something else, but you're really bored with whatever it is you're doing, like talking on the phone or, attending a class or waiting in line for something. It's really comes down to, it's a mindless, doodling is mindless and Zen doodling is mindful. Okay. And I have some examples of, I'm going to show you some of my examples first, and then I'll show you like the professionals. Because I want to, and I'm leading us. So I'm going to show you, this is probably, I just have these sprinkled throughout a bunch of practice notebooks. So let me hold this up a little bit. So you can see that this is probably a little bit more of a traditional one. The Zen doodle is in the middle. And then I just did some outlining Zen doodles around the edges, just, to fill up the page because I thought it would be fun. And here is one where I experimented a little bit with color. You know, I think I got some, I had gotten a new pack of metallic and neon gel pens, and I went crazy. Similarly, here is, this book has the pages really, really thick. Okay, here is another one that's a little bit more traditional. This is probably the most traditional one I have. Okay. And then this is a riff on Zen tangling. You can see it doesn't really come up in the camera very well, but you can see that maybe that it's using metallic marker. So this one was done in silver and gold, and it's kind of like a hillside with a celestial kind of moon thingy. Okay, and then the last one I want to show you is, last two I'm going to show you are just some other kind of riffs on Zen tangling as well. This one was sort of a hybrid of a Zen tangle, using some Zen tangle elements and a mandala. And this one is kind of a Zen tangle illuminated letter kind of thing. I don't know who I was doing this for or who I was thinking about when I did an R, but you can see how you can kind of combine art styles and how Zen doodling can be incorporated into other things. So today, and then here I wanted to show you some examples. I have this great book, and I will link this in the video notes. That is One Zen Tangle a Day. And it leads you through all kinds of like basics of Zen tangling, and gives you, I think, some daily exercises to do for, let's see, about a month or so. Oh no, I guess at least 40 days. It shows you lots of examples, like this one here. Anyways, and it shows you how to do each of these little patterns. It breaks it down, like you remember how to draw books? It's sort of like that. So that's a really great book. You can see just even on the cover, you can see a bunch of examples. And then I have this other thing my mom gave me. It's called Entangled. It's a coloring book. And so this isn't the Zentangling yourself per se. It's Zentangles that you can then go in and color. But I think it's really an amazing example of where Zentangles can go. And a lot of times people use the word Zentangle like in the singular to mean the actual patterns. So there's different types of Zentangles, and they each have their little names like verve and mushrooms and stuff. So that's just to give you, here's one that I colored in, quite lovely. And you can see that there's a blend of kind of curvilinear, geometric, and natural inspired shapes in the various tangles. And that's also obvious in their names. Like I mentioned, there's one called verve, which is kind of like a swooshy thing. And then one called mushroom, or known as cherries, So, yeah, that becomes very obvious. Okay, so enough of that background stuff. We are going to kind of riff off of this, formal Zentangle sense, okay? And do our things. So what we're going to do, we're going to start. So you need to get your supplies ready. You're going to get your paper out and get your pen, your black pen. And this is a little bit of a choose your own adventure at this point. It doesn't matter which way you can go. You can change up in the middle if you want. It doesn't matter. Traditionally, if you're doing Zentangling, you're creating a 4x4 square. You're drawing a square in the middle of your paper, which is also about 4x4 inches. But that's kind of going to look like this. So I obviously didn't do a square, but the idea here is you can do one big shape, okay? And it doesn't have to be a square. We're doing loosey-goosey. It could be a circle. It could be some amoeba shape thing. It doesn't matter. One big shape. Or you may decide that you want to do multiple shapes on a page, kind of like a grid, and then you'd fill that in. And again, it doesn't have to be squares or rectangles. These could be circles. It could be a circle and a heart and a star and, a fried egg looking thing, okay? And then your other option is to subdivide your paper using either one continuous or multiple intersecting lines. So something like this. Hopefully those showed up okay. Basically what you're doing is you're just creating these zones. You're creating zones to fill in with these Zentangle patterns, with your little Zen doodles. Okay, so we're going to jump right into this, and I'm going to do this with you. I just need to find an open piece of paper. All right, so I've got my piece of paper here, and I've never done this where I'm using different grids. I've only done the one where it's like one square. And a lot of times what you'll see people do is they will do, I don't know if I can do this while holding it, but you'll see them draw 4 dots. Let's see if I can get a little bit better in the camera. You'll see them draw 4 dots, little dots on their paper. And those are your guide points. Maybe you can see them a little bit. And then what they do is they just go and they connect the dots. And it doesn't have to be straight lines. As you can see, I kind of purposely didn't do it straight lines, but you can. And the idea is to get kind of flowy. You don't want to have a tight grip on your pen. You want to be holding it loose and very comfortable, so you're relaxed. And then what you're going to do from here is you're going to draw zones within this. Because I'm doing a big square, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subdivide this now. So I have different zones. And you know what? I'm feeling not very curvilinear right now. I'm feeling a little bit more jaggedy, maybe with one circle in here. All right, so this is my palette, my space that I'm going to be working with. And in each one of these zones, what do I have here? 5 zones. In these 5 zones, I'm going to do 5 different Zentangle patterns. Okay. And so you want to create visual interest with your patterns. You don't want to be flat and boring, because then that's just kind of doodling. It's not really getting you into this flow state. But instead, we're going to create patterns. And you got a little bit of a taste of them when you saw the samples. But I'm going to do one in each, a little bit of one in each of my little sectors here, and I will show that to you, so that kind of gives you an idea and maybe gives you some inspiration. But basically, you're just going to start filling up each one of your little zones with patterns. It might be leaf shapes or circles or hash lines or stars or squiggles, maybe, mushrooms or cherries, and you're just going to kind of fit those in. Okay. So I'm going to just start working on mine. Go for it on yours. Just, you're not thinking too deeply about what your pattern is. You're just kind of letting it flow so you can get into your zone. See how that works there, flow zone? All right. And you just kind of create as you go. Or if you're doing this on your own, like another time, you can definitely use reference books, because I know, like, when I was starting, I definitely looked at all the reference material in here and gave me tons of ideas. It's kind of like if you're a knitter or crocheter, you can find books with knitting and crocheting patterns for the different stitch patterns. It's that kind of a thing. And it's really fun. So yeah, just go at your own pace. You're gonna get into your flow, relax, and have fun with it. And I'm just doing one here kind of quick to give you an idea. And you can go back later, and, like, if you decide that your pattern is a little too, I don't know, too tame, too not very interesting, you are welcome to, you can go back anytime, and it's totally fine. All right. So I've got one done here. Or getting one done. And I'm going to share some other resources in the show notes that will give you it's just some other people, like videos of people doing the Zentangles, and they're just so creative and really beautiful. But here's an example. You can see I filled in my little circle with this kind of brick pattern that's got little things inside each square. So I saw some really cool ones yesterday that were just super interesting. Let's see if I can get inspired by those. And I don't know if any particular Zentangle is, traditional or not. So we're starting on our journey here, right? We're doing our Zentangles. So what is this all about? Who am I? What is this power hour thing all about? Why are we doing this? Those are all great questions. And yeah, let me get into some of those answers as we work. All right. So, but before I do that, let me just show you one more little pattern. So you can see I'm starting in this next section to do more of a nature-based pattern. I'm going to do something fun with that looks a little bit more, less like leaves and stuff. But anyway, so, okay, so FlowZone. What is the goal of FlowZone? Why are we here today? Well, this idea is to use things that are like artistic or creative activities or movement-based activities to kind of help us blow past some barriers we might have in our businesses. And so the power hours are going to be different from time to time. Sometimes we might be doing an art activity like we're doing here with the Zen Doodling. Other times it might be more movement based, like some kind of physical activity like workspace yoga. And other times it might be like a game or an icebreaker. And it's basically just to break us out of our ruts, our routines, to help open up something else in our minds or help make, form those new synapse connections in our brains. We'll keep it mixed up a little bit, but basically there's a lot of studies that show that creative movement and creativity, like those art part of the STEAM, art, music, that sort of thing, and activities like physical movement can boost learning and retention. It can help build confidence and self-esteem. It can influence having a positive mindset, and other good things like that. I'm not an expert in that. I've just seen some videos about that. The most recent one I remember seeing is by Daniel Pink, and he has a video about talking about 26 habits to help you in 2026 or something. And he talks a lot about some of those things. And I just think that, again, it's about using your brain in a different way and forging those new connections, and that helps you be more resilient, more agile, and that's how you're really kind of working towards blowing past some of your the mindset or whatever those challenges are that are keeping you from progressing in your business the way that you want to. And I can tell you anecdotally, and this is kind of the backstory to how this idea for FlowZone came up. Is I am teaching myself how to do urban sketching, and actually in one of my books here, I'm teaching myself how to do urban sketching and watercolor. If you're not familiar with that, it's this isn't great or anything. I'm just teaching myself. I'm a very beginner, but it's this kind of like looking at places or people's like scenes or objects and just quickly sketching them and then filling them in with watercolor. It's intended to be a very loose, very freestyle, very quick way of drawing. And so through doing that, and I'm still at the very beginning of that journey, but through doing that, I have unexpectedly learned to let go of some of my need for perfectionism. That's something that's really held me back, and it gets me really hung up. So through this activity, I'm learning how to get comfortable with imperfection, and it's helped me in my personal life. But because the urban sketching is something I'm doing for personal fulfillment and enrichment, but man, I'm telling you, it has like such a carryover effect. And so the idea there that came to me was maybe we can kind of on a more routine basis tap into activities, these creative or movement-based activities that can have these carryover effects, these spillover effects. So that's what the experimental piece of this is about. Okay. To see if we can leverage these kind of fun, interesting, different approaches, these different activities to help loosen up our brains so that we can make progress in our businesses. Because in my business, I also get caught up in this trap of perfectionism. And now I'm learning how to not just say to people, perfection is the enemy of progress, but I'm actually learning how to implement that for myself. I'm letting go. I'm gaining speed. I'm getting traction. I'm feeling better about my work because I'm not holding myself to this crazy and just ridiculous standard, these expectations. They're just not doable. All right, so I'm going to show you what I've done here with my little leaf. I started creating these little things. Like I saw a video of a Zentangler teacher called those auras, the little echo lines that go around. And yeah, so I'll finish that one later. I'm going to start, excuse me, on another one. So we've covered about what FlowZone is all about and kind of my backstory. And I should also say that this event is sponsored by or presented by Smart Start Content Club, which is my membership that I have for small businesses. And I'll come back to that later. But, I mentioned that because we've talked a little bit about this tapping into one area of life and having it impact and improve another area of your life. And in my context, I've been thinking about it in terms of small business and my particular area that I focus on, which is business communications and content creation, content programming. And so I'm using this FlowZone Power Hour as a tool to help my members make those bridges, make those transformations, leverage the creative or physical movement as a means to improve their business communications and content creation. All right. And I guess, we're really far into the video and the time together today. I haven't even introduced myself. Shame on me. I'm Suzanne, and I'm the gal behind SB Success Factor. And like I said, I help small businesses with their communications and content needs. And so that's everything from DIY solutions like tools, templates, trainings that help you do all that stuff better, to all the way up to done for you services like copywriting and content creation, and everything in between. And I also have a background in operations management, project and program management, and information and knowledge solutions. So I kind of leverage those pieces of my experience and education to help facilitate not just the content itself or the communications itself, but also the systems that go along with those, right? Because you need good systems or else you're going to be drowning. So if you have a need for getting help with the content strategy, planning, creation, and management and related systems for your business, come check me out. I have links down in the video notes that you can go look and find more information about that. What else? Okay. So I think that's kind of all the stuff I wanted to get around, tell you about Zen Tangling, about FlowZone Power Hour, about myself, and how, like, give you context, how it all fits in. So frankly, I run out of ideas too sometimes. And I watched so many videos last night preparing for today. You'd think that I would have, in my mind, I'd have exactly what I want to do, but I do not. So I'm just going to go with it. I wish this was a two-way street. It's like a two-way video so that I could see what you're doing. But it is not. So that is life. But anyways, I'm working on a third section. I'll show that to you in a minute, but just keep on going. You can find inspiration anywhere. I mean, even like, to be honest, like I have this, what do you call this, mouse pad cover. I mean, that's got swirls in it, and maybe that's a pattern that you do. Your pattern doesn't have to be like regularly repeating. It could be very free form. I've seen lots of ones where literally, here, I'm doing something else. It's literally just somebody they had fun with doing squiggles. something like up here at the top. I'm sure the purists would really scoff at that, but who cares, right? You know, and maybe it's not the most interesting, but who cares? It's your thing. It's a reflection of you and your needs, and we're gonna just go with it. I mean, I'm taking all the time here to embellish that little section I just showed you. So see, I'm adding in some little, I don't know, they kind of look like little flower flourish thingies. Let's see if I can get that a little bit closer. All right. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that. Um, yeah. So, I mean, again, I just encourage you to have a lot of fun with this. Let yourself go free with it. I see a couple people are in the room, so welcome. Feel free to put in the chat if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer questions, or if you are looking for ideas, let me know. But it's also okay if you're just quietly sitting there doing some Zen tangling. All right, so now I'm working on another uh, another zone here. And it's okay if you kind of like go outside your lines of your zones. There's no wrong or right. It's just kind of, how are you feeling? I know that sounds super loosey goosey, but you know what? That's kind of what it is. Okay. So now something like this would be really fun if I was using more color, or if I was taking the time to actually shade in the negative spaces. I don't feel like doing that right now. But you'd end up seeing kind of the depth that's created, a dimensionality that's created by using coloring and shade. Even if you're just using black or shades of black, you'd start seeing that. Oh, and I just realized I did not finish this one. I think I'm going to put another little leafy thing in here. That's kind of ugly, but I didn't really say that. It's beautiful. They say there's no mistakes in Zen tangling or Zen doodling. There's just happy accidents, as they call them. You can take that for what it's worth. And it's okay if your lines accidentally touch. One of the videos I watched about Zen tangling yesterday, she called it kissing. If your lines kiss, that's okay. All right, so I just finished this one. You can see I added in another leafy thing. Boy, it's really throwing me for a loop being opposite. And then maybe I'll do one in this direction. All right. All right. So all right, so you see that I finished uh, this zone here. It's got kind of that leafy motif with auras kind of thing going on in there. And then what can we do in here? How about something like, I don't know, I'm gonna look at my book for, oh, I know what I'll do. We'll do, uh, we'll do one of these things. I'm going a little crazy here. And to be honest, I don't have like the steadiest hand or the highest level penmanship or pen skills. So my lines kind of look hesitating, but that's okay. I'm learning just like you're learning, and it's, that's totally cool. Anyways, hopefully through this activity, you are able to, um, tap into something that you haven't been able to tap into before. And it would be really interesting for you to kind of think about how you were in your business or in your communications before you started this kind of an activity or thought about even doing this kind of activity, or a similar kind of activity, and then doing something like this for a little while and then going back into your business and reevaluating kind of, you set your benchmark before and then tracking your progress after. See how tapping into your creative side or doing some movement while you're doing a non-business related activity can then actually facilitate your business. So you can see here, I am starting to just do some kind of weird pattern type things with these like scallopy lace edges, these ruffles. I don't know where I'm going with it. We'll see. But we are at 9:40. So I have a hard stop in 5 minutes. So let me work on this a little bit. And while I'm doing that, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed or like found this interesting or enlightening, either in actuality or in concept. And I hope you'll join me for future FlowZone Power Hours. I'm planning to hold them once a month. They'll be here on YouTube, and they're going to be free, so you can join live or watch the replays. But obviously, live is better because that's where we get more of a connection. I think it's more fun and enjoyable and more impact. I don't know. So there's that. I will put in the video notes and or like a pinned comment to the video. More resources. That's the word I'm looking for. Resources you can use related to Zen tangling and Zen doodling, to getting patterns that you can use for Zen tangling, and supplies and that sort of thing. I'll put in the 2 videos that I watched yesterday that I thought were worthwhile. There's also, like, I would search on YouTube for patterns. So like you'll get, you'll get a lot of shorts that come up, and they're really good. Like if you want to learn a specific pattern for a Zentangle. Excuse me, that went down the wrong pipe. YouTube shorts are great for that. They're really like get in, get what you need, and get out. And what else? Accountability. Love accountability. Love action takers. Love accountability. If you want to show off your work, because it's lonely showing this off. It's not really a gallery or anything, just having one piece. Definitely go to the SBSF community. It's a Facebook group. Welcome to join. Again, it's free. And post your Zentangles in the group. I mean, you can all ooh and ah over them, and you can tell us what you were thinking and feeling while you were doing it, before and after. Use the hashtag FlowZone, so it's easy to identify what it's in context to. And what else have I got for you? If you like this kind of an activity, or you, like I said before, if you find yourself needing help with content strategy, planning, creation, or management for your small business, definitely check out Smart Start Content Club. The links for that is also in the video notes. And I will also link to, if I can find them, this coloring book, I have no idea. I think my mom got it secondhand somewhere. But I will see if I can find links to these 2 books, and I will include those in the resources as well. And if you are a Smart Start Content Club member, you'll be able to find the replay to this video in the members portal, aka the Clubhouse, and in YouTube, and I'll send it out via email. Elsewise, if you want to stay in touch, sign up for the newsletter. Links are all going to be below in the show notes. And be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff of this video. It really helps me out and tells the YouTube gods that you this is legit. You dig it. But more importantly, it gives me feedback, so I know what's resonating with folks like you. And yeah, thanks, and have a great day. And this is my sort of final thing. I think I'm going to finish this one and call it a day. So thank you so much. You know what? I'm going to actually post my finished Zentangle into the Facebook group as well, so you can see what it really looks like when it's done. Because I might go back and add some shading and that sort of fun stuff, so it looks like something finished rather than something work in process. Anyways, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Be well. Cheers.